All right, today we're gonna solve these algebraic trig equations. And I wanna first go over some old stuff that you know that you're gonna use in solving these. This actually, last hour, took it pretty well. They were like, yeah, it's not bad. So, let's talk about the triangles. I want you to fill in these triangles. We're gonna call this a 60, a 30, 90, 30, 60, 90 degree triangle. Can you name the sides for me? What gets what? Now normally I put 30 here, but this is longer, so this is square root of 3, good. Very good. Now what's another name for 60 in radians? Pi over 3. What's another name for 30 degrees in radians? Good, okay. What about the 45ers? What do you know about those? 1 root 2. Okay, what's the definition of sine? Y over R, cosine x over R, and tangent y over x. Good. Okay, also on this little x and y axis, I want you to just remember that this ordered pair is 1, 0. This ordered pair is 0, 1. This ordered pair is negative 1, 0. And we have 0, negative 1. Also, you guys know, I don't think you have to write it, but what are the angles at those spots? 0, pi over 2, pi, and 3 pi over 2, right? Also, I want you to quickly jot, all seniors take calculus. What does that mean? Means in quadrant 1, all of them are positive. In quadrant 2, only sine is positive. In quadrant 3, tangent is positive. In quadrant 4, cosine is positive. If I didn't tell you it's positive, then the other ones are negative. So in other words, in quadrant 2, tangent and cosine are negative. In quadrant 3, sine and cosine are negative. And in quadrant 4, sine and tangent are negative. We're going to explain this in a minute, so just leave that alone for a second. And also, right here, sine and cosine, since the period is every 2 pi, you added 2k pi to those two, and if it was a tangent, you added k pi. Now, watch me do this problem. Example 5. So, we are solving for u. I want to know what angles, I should say, in the in this circle right here, what angles give me a root 2 over 2 ratio? What angles give us that opposite over hypotenuse is a root 2 over 2? Well, what I like to do is unrationalize this. And then what I do is I will always draw, whether there's a negative or a positive fraction, I always draw a triangle in quadrant 1. Because it says sine, sine means opposite over hypotenuse. What angle am I whose side opposite? Pi over 4. So that is one of your answers. This angle measures pi over 4. Now, if the directions say find all answers, all means from negative infinity to infinity. You're going to add and subtract 2k pi to that. That will give you every answer from here to eternity. Now, if the directions say from 0 to 2 pi, that means from starting here, going once around, you would just say pi over 4. You wouldn't have to add that plus or minus 2k pi. As a matter of fact, it would be wrong if you added 2k pi. If it only wants you to list the answers one time around, you would say pi over 4. Now, I need to know where else is the opposite over adjacent positive. Well, that's where I think we need to take a minute and let's review. This will help you. Want to draw that circle again quickly. It'll help you remember, it'll help you do these questions faster. So if we have 0, a half, a whole, 1 1/2, and 2. Let's do the quarters. This is a quarter, 2 quarters, 3 quarters, 4 quarters, 5 quarters, 6 quarters, 7 quarters, and 8 quarters. And then let's do the 6. This is 1/6. This is 2/6. What's another name for 2/6? This is 3/6. This is 4/6. What's another name for 4/6?
2/3.
So we have 4/6. We're at 5/6. We're at 6/6. We're at 7/6. We're at 8/6. What's another name for 8/6? 4/3. 9/6. Then we have 10/6. What's another name for 10/6? 5π/3. And we have 11/6. And then 12/6. So now, when we did that last problem and we said π/4, this is π/4. Well, where else is sine positive? It's the angle that has a 4 in it. It's this angle right here. So you would take this angle and put it in quadrant 2, and it's not π/4, but it's from here to here, which is what? What's this angle? 3π/4. So your two answers for that, example 5, are π/4 and also in quadrant 3, 3π/4. Those are your two answers. So you have one in quadrant 1, and then the other one was in quadrant 2. That's 3π/4. Because you have, this is 1, this is root 2. So this is 45, so that's the, where you can get that at is do π minus π/4. Π minus π/4 is 3π/4. Okay, let's do a bunch of these. Next one, examples 1 through 8. So we have a ratio of root 3/2. So I'm going to draw a triangle in quadrant 1, and I'm going to name this side root 3, this side 2. What angle am I whose side opposite over adjacent, hypotenuse is root 3/2? What angle is this? It's a 60-degree, π/3. So now, in what two quadrants is sine positive in? Quadrant 1, so that's an answer, and in quadrant 2. What angle is that angle with a 3 in quadrant 2? So 2π/3. So these are your two answers. Now, if the directions say find all the answers, you would add 2kπ to these two answers. If it says, because you have to be able to do both, if it says list only the answers from 0 to 2π, you just list those two. So all means plus or minus 2kπ. Number 2, does anyone have a feeling what to do with this 2? Yep. You're going to divide both sides by 2. So you have cosine of x is, can you unrationalize this? Yep. So in quadrant 1, we're going to name adjacent over hypotenuse. What angle am I? π/4. And in what other quadrant is cosine positive in? 4. What's that angle in quadrant 4 that has a 4 with it? 7π/4. And then add or subtract 2kπ. Next one, tangent. Okay, I see a negative here. Ignore this negative for a minute. Ignore it. Pretend like you don't see it. I want you to always start in quadrant 1. So I'm going to name this root 3 and this 1. What angle am I in quadrant 1 that has an opposite over adjacent as root 3 over 1? What angle is this? Pi over, it's a 60 degrees, so pi over 3. Now that's not the answer. I need to be negative. In what two quadrants is tangent negative in? Here and here. So what are the two angles in quadrant 2 and 4 that have a 6 in it? What's this one called?
It's pi over
5 pi over 6, and what's the other one?
Oh wait, isn't it a 3?
Yeah, it's supposed to be 3.
Pi over 3.
You're
Oh yeah, yes, I'm sorry. This is a 60 degree, pi over 3. Yep. Did I say it and wrote it
Yeah.
wrong? Okay, so pi over 3. Now what are the two angles in quadrant 2 and 4 that have a 3 in them?
2
And
5.
now what you could do, I'm going to give you some options. You could add 2k pi to these. But there's an easier way to write this one. It's a tangent problem. If I took 2 pi over 3, the first one, and if I just added k pi, you will pick up this answer. Because if you added pi to 2 pi over 3, you'll get 5 pi over 3. So you can shorten this answer to 2 pi over 3 plus or minus k pi. You could write it this way, doing them both, writing 2k pi, or just do one or the other. Just one or the other. Whatever you prefer, I would take. Now, if they ask you to list all the answers from 0 to 2 pi, you have to write both of these answers. Okay, next one. Tangent 1. This one confuses you guys for some reason, but it's a 45. This is a 45. 1 to 1 is a 45. So pi over 4, and what's the easiest way to write this one? Plus or minus k pi. The other answer was, where else is tangent positive? Quadrant 3. What angle has a 4 in it in quadrant 3? 5 pi over 4. Okay? Okay, number 5. What do you think you're going to do with that 2 that's standing in front of cosine? Yep, divide by 2. Okay, so ignore this negative. Draw quadrant 1, adjacent over hypotenuse. What angle am I? It's a 30, so pi over 6. But is that one of the answers? No, because it says negative. In what two quadrants is cosine negative? 2 and 3. So what are the two angles in quadrant 2 and 3, because it's negative, they have a 6 in it?
5 pi over 6.
And what?
7 pi over 6.
And should you add 2k pi to these? Yes, if it asks for all answers. Okay, sine 0. Oh, now this one is the one where you have to look at, I want 0 over 1, so y over r. Where are the y values 0 on this unit circle? Right here and right here. Does everyone understand that? That's 0 over r is 1. So these two answers are 0 and pi. Now you're going to add 2k pi to these, if it asks for all answers. Number 7, what do you think you're going to do with this 2 and this 1? Anyone think they know how to get rid of 1? Subtract 1, how about the 2? Okay, what do I do next? What angle am I? 30 pi over 6, but that's not the answer. Why? Because it's negative. In what two quadrants is sine negative? 3 and 4. What are the answers? Excellent. Are you guys getting this? Okay, and then this last one, they threw a cosecant at you. We don't want to deal with cosecant. So we're going to put a 1 over this and 1 over that. Well, what's another name for 1 over cosecant? Sine. So what angle, can you do this in your head? What angle are you? In quadrant 1, that's a 1 over root 2. What's this angle? Pi over 4. And where else is sine positive? Quadrant 2, 3 pi over 4. Good? Okay, next, flip this over. If you can't do those problems, you're going to have a hard time with this now. So hopefully you understood that. What's different about this problem in example 5 that we just did, which I'm going to show you here. Here's example 5. Besides the fact if this were an x. Pretend like that's an x. That little 2 that's tucked in here, these are the same problem. So what you're going to do on these ones, you're going to ignore this little 2x for a second. You're going to solve this for root 2 over 2, just like you did on this problem. So what you would do is I would probably unrationalize this. I would say, okay, I'm in quadrant 1, 1 root 2. What angle am I? Pi over 4. And what other answer did I have? 3 pi over 4. Now, these would be the answers if this were a 1x. You're going to set this equal to 2x right here. And now what you're going to do is divide, you're solving for x. How would you solve this problem for x? Divide this by 2, divide this by 2, and instead of dividing by 2 because it's a fraction, you can multiply by a half. Dividing by 2 and multiplying by a half mean the same thing. So fix this answer. So what, I want to know what x is, not 2x. So this is going to be pi over 8 plus or minus k pi equals x. That's one answer. And then you do the same thing for the other angle. Divide by 2. So you get 3 pi over 8 plus or minus k pi equals x. Okay? Okay, we're going to do these next 4 together. Okay, so this one says sine 2x equals negative root 3 over 2. So I want to ignore that negative. What, in quadrant 1, if I label this side root 3 and this 2, what angle is this? Pi over what? Pi over, it's a 60, so pi over 3. But I need to be in quadrant 3 and 4 because of this negative. So what are the two answers in quadrant 3 and 4 with a 3 in it? 4 pi over 3, and what's the other one? 5 pi over 3? Remember we did these? 5 pi over 3. And 4 pi over 3. Okay? Now, you're going to add and subtract 2k pi to these two answers. But these are not the answers. You have to set this equal to 2x. So, what do I do now? what do I do? Divide by 2, divide by 2, multiply by a half. So this is gonna be 2 pi over 3 plus or minus k pi. And another answer will be 5 pi over 6 plus or minus k pi. Questions? Okay, next one. Now, you might be able to do this in your head. Root 2 over 2. We've done enough of them. Do you know what angle that is? What is it, Brett? Pi over 4. Where else is it positive? In what other quadrant? Where? 4. 7 pi over 4. So plus or minus 2k pi. What do you do with these two answers? Set it equal to 2x and solve for x. Divide by 2. So pi over 8 is one answer. Please box them in if you do what I do, like here, I kind of go backwards. So 7 pi over 8 plus or minus k pi. Thumbs up on this? Do you get this? Yeah? Okay, good. What do you think you're going to do on 25? First. Divide by 2. Then what? You know what these two answers are? Root 2 over 2? It's pi over 4 and 7 pi over 4, right? Okay, now who thinks they know what to do next? You're going to set these equal to 2x? Good, you're going to set this equal to x over 2. How do you solve for x now? Good, you got it. Multiply this by 2. Multiply this by 2. So it's going to be 4k pi. And multiply this by 2. So what do you get? Pi over 2 plus or minus 4k pi. That's one answer. And the same here, multiply by 2. 2 goes into 4 2 times, so 7 pi over 2 plus or minus 4k pi. And 26, help me out. Oops. What do you do? Divide by 2. Then what? What angle am I? 30. What's another name for 30? And what other answer? Mm-hmm. What do I set these equal to? X over 3. So how do I solve for x over 3? Good. Multiply by 3. So multiply by 3. So what do you get if you multiply all of these by 3? Pi over 2 plus or minus 6k pi. That's one answer. And what's the other one? Multiply this by 3. 5 pi over 2. Easy so far? Okay, good. Next, this is where I need you to have a calculator. These are, notice how it says example 1, now we're going to go to the easier problem. These should be easier. I'm going to do these on a calculator. So, first of all, make sure your calculator is in radian mode. Now, you wanna find the angle whose cosine ratio is 0.6. Now, you could turn this into a fraction, but it's not necessary. So in order to find this angle, the angle whose, this is where you hit this on your calculator. Ties into what you did yesterday. So I need you to hit second cosine 0.6. Now, if you have the Inspire in front of you, how do you do this? You're going to hit trig, and you have the button right there. Hit that, and then hit 0.6. Whoops, did I not hit? You should get,
Is it supposed to be in radians?
it's in radians. And if you're not sure, I might have accidentally switched this. Oh, you know what? My calculator turned off. I think mine got switched back. Hit setting, document setting. Yep, see mine switched, my calculator turned off. Mine went back to degree mode. So you want to hit, I want to go back to radians. Oops. Excuse me. Thank you. And then hit make default. Okay, so there we go. So go to Scratchpad, calculate, and I'm gonna do trig, cosine again, and then 0.6. And I should get the right answer. There it is, 0.927. Now, I want you to think of this as your reference angle, 0.927. That's in quadrant 1, 0.927. Where else is cosine positive? In quadrant 4. Now this is the part of the notes that I showed you right here on the first page. If your angle is in quadrant 1, it's the angle. If it's in quadrant 2, you're going to do pi minus whatever you get here. If it's in quadrant 3, it's pi plus that answer, and if it's in quadrant 4, it's 2 pi minus the answer. So again, in quadrant 1, if you want to be in quadrant 1, it's the angle, theta or omega or whatever you want to call it. If it's in quadrant 2, it's pi minus that angle, what you got here. If it's in quadrant 3, it's pi plus and 2 pi minus. So now, that's the angle we were talking, 0.927. Where else is cosine positive in? It's positive in quadrant 4, so you're going to do 2 pi minus 0.927. So it's, this answer is 1, and then 2 pi. So turn your calculator back on. Two pi, so you can hit 2, and then there's a pi button right here. 2 pi, whoops. Two pi, whoop. Oh, that's a little bit. 2 pi, there. 2 pi minus 0.927. So the other answer is 5.356.
Wait, where did you find it? Okay.
The pi button is right there, that little, do you see it right there?
Yeah.
So 5.356. And now, if the question says find all answers, you add 2k pi to these. So you would write 0.927 plus or minus 2k pi and 5.356 plus or minus 2k pi. Now there's another way to write 5.356. Does anyone know how to do it another way? How do you write 5.326 going backwards? It'd be negative 0.927. So this answer is the same as negative 0.927. These two mean the same thing, depending on if you go all the way around or if you just go backwards. So you can do that. These two answers mean the same thing. Let's do another one. I want to show you what happens when you have a negative here. You ignore the negative. So I want you to type in your calculator that and then positive 0.75. So ignore the negative. If you see a negative, you're going to hit trig, and then 0.75. And get your answer. I got 0.848. Now, is that the answer? Not even one of them. Because I want to be negative. In what two quadrants is sign negative? It's negative in quadrant 3 and 4. Well, if it's negative, and if it's in 3, you do pi plus that answer. And if it's in quadrant 4, it's 2 pi minus that answer. So what I need you to do is take pi and add 0.848 to that, and then do 2 pi minus 0.848. So the two answers you should get are 3.990 and 5.435. Now, does anyone know how we can rename 5.438?
Negative
Negative what?
0.8.
Yep, negative 0.848. You could, this is equal to negative 0.848. You could do that also. Okay, let's do tangent. Tangent. Anyone have an idea what you're going to do to find this angle? Inverse tan 3. I need a reference angle. 1.249. That's what you should get. Did anyone not get that? So hit second tan 3, and you should get 1.249. Now it's positive, so that is one of our answers. So it's going to be 1.249. And now what you could do is cheat and just write plus or minus k pi and you're done. Where else is tangent positive? In quadrant 3. So the other way to get this answer is to take this answer and add what? Pi. So it's pi plus that answer, and then plus, if you want to add 2k pi to that, to both of these if you did them separate. So the other answer would be pi plus 1.249. Now, example 4. Anyone have an idea what we're doing here? Plus 1. Then what? Divide by 8. Okay, so now hit second cosine 1/8 if you're using the old calculator. If you're using the Inspire, you're going to hit that. And give me your reference angle. What'd you get? You hear it.
1.445.
Yep, 1.445. So, because this is positive, that's one of your answers. What's the other answer? You're either going to do 2 pi minus that, or you could go backwards. I think going backwards sometimes is easier. Less work. So if you don't want to write this answer, you're going to do 2 pi minus 1.445. Why 2 pi? Because, back to this, if it's in quadrant 4, it's 2 pi minus that answer. So pi minus, pi plus, 2 pi minus. Okay, these are your homework problems. We're going to do them right now because you need a calculator. Number 13. Let me hear from you. What do I do? Type in what? Type in what?
0.465.
What do you get? Trig. And then 0.465. Enter. Did you get 0.483? Yeah? Actually, it should be 0.484 if you round. Now, what do I do with this answer? That's not the answer. In what two quadrants is sign negative in? So I think about this. What two quadrants am I in? 3 and 4. So how do I get the correct answers? I'm going to do pi plus this answer. So pi plus 0.484. And I could go backwards and say negative 0.484 to get the fourth quadrant, or I could do 2 pi minus 0.484. Questions? So, let's see, what did you get? Pi. My eyes are bad. I'm gonna use the bigger screen. I'm having a hard time seeing this. So pi plus 0.484, that's one answer, and 2 pi minus, those are two answers. So 3.626 and 5 point, I'm gonna say 80. And then if it says find all, you write plus or minus 2k pi. Next one, what do you hit? Second cosine 0.564. Your reference angle is 0.972. In what two quadrants is cosine negative in? 2 and 3. So you're going to do pi minus this answer and pi plus this answer. So pi plus that answer and pi minus. So 2.17. And 4.114. Please box these answers. 17, what are you going to type? Second tan, and then ignore the negative. So 0.237. And I got 0.233. So what do I do with that answer? What quadrant are you in? 2 and 4. So what do you do with this? Pi minus and what other answer could you give me besides 2 pi minus that one? Yep. So you could give me, you could do that, or you could just go backwards, negative 0.233.
So like on the test, both of those would be right?
Yeah, I'll take both. Yep. Anyone have any questions? Okay, number 19. They give you a hint here. The cotangent of x is equal to 2.3. Well, we don't want to deal with cotangent. You can, because on your Inspire you have that inverse cotangent. But what they want you to do is do 1 over cotangent and 1 over 2.3. Well, 1 over cotangent is tangent. And 1 divided by 2.3 is really 0.435. So you're gonna hit second tan, and there's your answer, 0.410. And add and subtract to k pi if you wanted, or you could just add k pi and then you have both answers. What other quadrant is tangent positive in? In 3, so you would do pi plus that answer. So that's your other answer.
You can only do the K pi thing with tangent, right?
Tangent is k pi, yep. Yep. 21, how are you gonna do this one? You're gonna do 1 over secant, 1 over, so it's cosine I got 0.377. So hit second cosine, 0.377. And my reference angle is 1.184. But what 2 quadrants is cosine negative in? What 2 quadrants am I going to be in? 2 and 3. So to get the answer in 2, it's going to be pi minus 1.184, and then the other answer in quadrant 3, it's pi plus 1.184. And what do you do for this one? Instead of cosecant, you're going to do sine. So second sine. You get 0.191 is one answer. Is it one of the answers? Yep, because it's in quadrant 1 and it's positive. What other answer am I going to give you? Pi minus 0.191. Good? Okay, the next 4, and this is all we're doing for today. These 4 are your homework. What do you think you're going to do on these? Divide by 5. You're going to get your answer, and then at the end you have to do what to it? Divide by 2. Yes, set it equals, yes, you're right. Set it equal, you're right. Set it right. You're setting it equal to 2x, but that means you're going to divide by 2, right?
Yeah.
Can you guys all do these 4 problems for homework tonight,
Yeah.
please? That's it. We're done.